I came home early and overheard my girlfriend bragging about cheating on me, so I left without a word. Now she's desperately trying to find me, but I've blocked her everywhere. A 38-year-old male, I just found out my girlfriend, 36 female, of 5 years cheated on me, and I found out in the worst way. Just some background info on me: I've never been married, nor do I have any kids. Story: Friday after work, I left to go on a weekend trip with the guys to one of my buddy's cabins on the lake. Nothing too crazy: fishing, drinking games, just good old fun. Usually, we do these trips about every 3 months to get time to ourselves and give our SOS a break from us. I usually stay through the entire weekend and just leave from there to go to work on Monday morning. However, so around 4 p.m., I started to head home. I figured I'd be there by 6 o'clock, and let's call her Rachel. And everything seemed normal. I could hear Rachel laughing in the kitchen, so I figured I'd just walk in and surprise her. To her sister, or maybe one of her friends, but the conversation went like this: "Last night was just amazing. He was such a considerate lover. Pause, I'm telling you, I've never had anything like it. Pause, we met on Tinder, and he took me out last night. By the time we made it through the door, we barely made it to the sofa. Pause, oh God, ... big. Like twice as big as inserts my name. Pause, I'll be taking him for a test drive." Again, after that line, I just dropped the food on the floor. Rachel heard it and turned around. By that time, I already had tears welling up in my eyes. She hung up the phone and tried to get to me, but I just pushed her off, went up to the office, grabbed my laptop. I'm staying at a motel a couple of towns over, so I doubt she will be able to find me. My buddies and mom have called, as Rachel has frantically been trying to locate me to spend the rest of my life with. I'm an only child, and my mom keeps reminding me she wants grandkids. I had planned on proposing this year on the 4th of July, as it would be our 6th anniversary. I've already got the ring, and my buddy and his wife already know about the plan. In any relationship, I'm just broken at this point. Do I contact Rachel? Should I hear her out? After that phone call, the thought of her just makes me sick to my stomach. Tia, for anyone who reaches out, comments, _traditional_band_723. She was bragging about cheating on you. You will never forget what you heard. Time to move on, bust onto. To add to this, she showed you who she is. Be glad you learned now, and not after being married for many years. Bushyboy Owen, _73. You have already heard everything from her. You don't look back. Best case scenario, arrange for your friends to collect your things and never speak to her again. The only closure to be had in this is from her side. Don't talk to her friends. Or if your mutuals try to give you a message from him, ghost them to .min is not Chuck_59. Yes, do this. Since you're a nice guy who probably can't imagine doing this to her, you will want to try and understand and fix things. You'll try to be a PCK, make it loud in public so you can't go back. You dodged a bullet. Trust me, I found out this past year that half my life is a lie. After 27 years, together with 3 kids, I had an opportunity to leave her the first year we dated when I found out she probably cheated on me, but I tried to understand and fix things. Don't be me. Update 1. Hello everyone. First off, I would like to thank everyone for their kind words. I have had a very stressful week, and while I did not feel up to replying to anyone's posts, I want you all to know that I read them, and your words helped me through the week. This has been a devastating event for me, and every one of you who commented or reached out through chat brightened my day just a tiny bit. With that said, here is the most recent update, last Friday night. After my buddies got to the hotel, I explained what I had heard on the phone call. All 3 of them were stunned, to say the least. They asked if I had seen any signs of this, and TBH, I hadn't. I said I didn't know what I was going to do. I informed my buddy that the proposal was off, and given the circumstances, he completely understood. One thing I had my buddies do when they left their houses was turn off tracking in case their significant others were checking and getting back. To Rachel, I know Rachel is close with one of the wives, but at this point, I didn't want to take any chances. That night, we're getting calls all night from the SOS, asking where they were. And to their credit, they stood there grounded and backed me up, just saying that we were safe and not to worry. One asked to speak with me after assuming that we were where they were, but I didn't want to talk to her. She kept saying Rachel is worried and just wants me to come home. I just told my buddy to deal with it, and I'll fill them in another time. I spent most of the night hitting on the bartender, which I'm not proud of, and a couple of girls who were traveling for work. The next day, I thanked them all for spending time with me, and they took off back home this week. I had one of my buddies scope out the house we were renting, as it was on his way to work. Rachel had taken Monday and Tuesday off, but went back to work on Wednesday. As soon as he informed me of this, I went to the house and started packing as much stuff as I could. The house was a mess, dishes in the sink, clothes lying everywhere. Trash was full of takeout and ordered food. It took me about 3.5 hours to get all my crap out before I left. I cleaned up for Rachel as a final gesture. That afternoon and evening, I was flooded by Rachel with calls and texts after she realized that I had come home and gotten all of my things. So for now, I'm staying at my mother's house until I can find a place of my own this fall. I spoke with the landlord, and without Rachel's signature, he won't remove me from the lease, meaning I will have to cover my half of it until October. My mom has said I can stay with her until then, at which point I will try to find a new place. I know a 38-year-old moving back in with his mother. How amazing life has treated me. Finally contacted Rachel on Thursday and told her we could meet up at a local bar and grill downtown Friday evening. I told her one of my buddies would be attending to make sure everything was on the up and up. She complained for a few minutes, saying she wanted me to come home and talk with her so we could move past this. But I told her if she wanted to see me, this was how it was going to be. Eventually, she agreed. So Friday night, Rachel showed up after my buddy and I had been there for about an hour. I had already eaten and took a couple of shots of CCK to calm me. We sat down and she wanted to make small talk, asking about me and blah blah blah. I cut that garbage off. I told her I had a list of questions. Immediately, her eyes welled up. I asked her how long this had been going on. She swore this was the first and only time. I told her to cut the BSI, said there was no chance we were ever getting back together. So just tell me the truth so I can have my closure and move on with my life. She stuck to her guns for a few minutes. But then, as most of you predicted, she came clean. Every time I went on those trips for the past 2 years, she thought I was going to cheat on her, so she was having her fun too. This set me off. I told her she was using this as a *****ing excuse just to sleep around. I then asked who she was talking to on the phone, but she refused to give me an answer for this. I asked if they used condoms, and she said, sometimes. I said she's lucky I got an STD test because I'm clean, so she doesn't have to worry about getting one unless her most recent partner didn't use one. Finally, before I left, I told her about my plans for the July 4th proposal. I showed her the ring and told her that she begged for another chance. I told her that I will always love her, but we are over. So yeah, she's been messaging me all day. But I'm going to block her here soon. I'm just sitting here eating some B-dubs and drinking beer while watching the fight. Hopefully, poor EA wins, but I'm doubting it. My life is a train wreck. Anyway, thanks guys for listening. I don't know if I'll update again, as I doubt I will ever talk to that CA again. Comments. I knew she was going to say it was only once. They always do that, dummies. Also this line, every time I went on those trips for the past 2 years, she thought I was going to cheat on her, so she was having her fun too. Classic cheater move. It's your fault, OP. I think not. I'm sorry your landlord didn't let you out of the lease, but at least you have your mom. It's not ideal, but it's only temporary. 100% her loss, too. Bad. She was about to become someone's wife. A good man chose her, wanted her, and she threw it all away for fun. It's time to focus on you and your healing. Go easy on the alcohol. Be careful. You're going to be okay. Fly us up. I'm glad that you are clean and sad that she was such a PAS and used as a justification that she thought you were going to cheat on her on those trips. Sad also that she didn't want to tell who she was talking to, but I bet it must be someone in the inner circle of friends, and most possibly one of the wives of your buddies. And she didn't want to give her up because they could cause trouble with a male friend for supporting a cheater, and might as well she was doing that too. So warn your buddies of these possibilities. Now, about her reaction and manner in the restaurant, she showed no remorse at all and even tried to trick the truth, because if she were remorseful for what she did, she would have broken before the ring thing. She came to her senses about her stupidity when you showed her that ring and talked about the proposal. Well, now it is time for you to leave alcohol and start your healing journey. I hope everything goes well, and please, if you come to find who was on the other end of that call, update us. Hey there, fellow Redditors. I just want to thank each of you for the kind words. It means a lot to me. A few things have happened in the last day, so I figured I'd fill you in. Nothing too exciting, but here it is. Rachel is no longer invited to the 4th cookout. So I'm free and clear and don't need to worry about any confrontation with her. If you remember, in my last post while at the bar, one of the wives was trying to talk to me. She is the wife who hosts the 4th cookout. Rachel had told her that she had only cheated once and it was a huge mistake. And that's why she was trying to get me to talk things out with her. When I spoke with her this past Tuesday, I let her know the whole truth. She immediately called Rachel, who confirmed my line of events, was livid, and started yelling at her, telling her it would be best if she didn't show up to the event on the 4th because I was going to be there, and frankly, what she did to me was vile. She then asked me to forgive her and said she had no idea. I explained it wasn't her fault and she had nothing to ask forgiveness for. We were both sold a lie by someone we cared about. As for who was on the phone with her, I can only imagine it was her sister. The 2 wives who were friends with her have remained solid that they had no idea Rachel was doing this, as apparently, on the Saturday evening while we were away, they would have a girls' night at my house until about 11 p.m. and talk about typical girl stuff and drink wine. The one who isn't even friends with her but partook in these events confirmed it. The other thing that makes me think it was her sister is that I've attempted to reach out to her 3 times now, and I have gotten no text back, no call back, nothing. Her mother has called and said she's upset about the breakup and asked if there is anything they can do to change my mind, but I told her that's just not happening. I went back to work on Monday after taking the week off. So I'm back to my normal routine now. No more boozishly, my liver will thank me for that. This community has helped me a lot, and I wanted to thank everyone for all of it. I don't know if I'll update this account again, as it seems this is the end of the situation. By the way, Rachel has been blocked on all platforms, so right now, she has no way to contact me. The cookout host said she isn't doing well right now, as she told me that before I explained what happened. But that's life. I'm not doing good either, but I'm moving on and putting all this behind me. Thanks again, community. Y'all rock. Asterisk, here are my thoughts on the story. Let's get this straight. Rachel spent 2 years using Ops fishing trips as her personal hall pass, then tried to spin it as I thought you'd cheat first, like infidelity is some preemptive strike. Newsflash, lady, trust isn't a game of Battleship, and showing her the ring, chef's kiss. Nothing humbles a cheater like realizing they torpedoed a future they'd never deserve. Bonus points for the landlord forcing her to live with the least consequences karmas, a landlord who won't let you break contracts or morals. Now on to the next story. Am I the bad guy for defending my husband after my ex-husband abandoned our children? Asterisk, I, 38 female, have a 9-year-old son, Max, and a 6-year-old daughter, Olivia, with my ex-husband Dan, 35 male. Max has severe autism and requires a lot of care. I remarried 3 years ago. My husband Luke is incredible. My ex Dan has them 6 hours every week. Asterisk, this week was on a Tuesday, and as I was away for a funeral, Dan took the day off work to be with them in the morning and evening. Dan and his girlfriend Sophie picked them up as planned at 11 a.m. Her husband took this time to play a round of golf with my brother. They finished the game at 4 p.m., and the golf course is 30 minutes from our house. I got a call at 5 p.m. exactly from Sophie, screaming at me about abandoning my kids. I was confused and eventually realized Luke wasn't home yet. So I told her where the spare key is so they could wait for Luke to come home inside. Unfortunately, Luke's car had gone kaboom on the motorway, and he was in a complete coverage dead zone. He was able to call emergency services, but nothing else would connect. When the police arrived, the first thing he did was ask if someone could contact Dan to tell him what happened. Sophie was already on the phone to the police to report my husband and me for child abandonment. They said one of us should have been there, and my ex doesn't feel safe inside our home, so they've left the kids inside our home. and the police needed to go and save our kids and arrest us. The police officer speaking to them told them multiple times to turn around and that they were the ones who had abandoned them. This whole time, I'm getting messages from Dan saying how this was unfair to him and Sophie and that I'm a terrible parent for leaving them with someone who doesn't give a underscore about our kids. At this point, I didn't know what was going on. All I knew was that Luke wasn't home, but Dan had found the spare key. At no point did he tell me they've left the kids alone. Luke got hold of me via the police, and I arranged for a friend to go around there as soon as she could, but the police already had a unit there after the call with Sophie. After this, I've decided to try and get his 6 hours a week taken away. I've given him so much leeway over the years, and this was my limit. My son is dependent on an adult, and our daughter is 6. The only thing he would say to defend himself is, well, I kept at my side of the agreement by bringing them back after 6 hours. This has caused a whole other underscore storm to the point where Sophie sent me messages that the police are now investigating. Dan hinted he is going to try and get the kids taken into care because of my husband abandoning them, and multiple people ask me why I'm staying with someone who abandoned my children. Parents have threatened to try and gain custody of the children, then the children need a stable family unit, and calling my husband abusive. I said, underscore this, and put the whole story with evidence on my private Facebook page. People quickly understood. But now I'm being branded a drama queen, and an underscore for publicly blasting the father of my children, putting my husband above my kids. I don't understand how he's more of a father to them than Dan is. I feel like I've taken crazy pills. Am I the underscore? So there were some relevant comments asking the OP questions. The first one said, did you mean the police investigating you or Sophie? OP replies, I worded it badly in the post. Sophie sent me messages, and the police are now investigating those messages. She said some horrendous stuff about my kids, and even worse stuff about me, hopefully enough for me to prevent her from ever being near my kids again. More info on the police involvement. OP says, I won't speak too much on the police involvement, but I will say they won't be investigating them being left alone. That's been handled by a more appropriate service. I made the report about the texts she sent, and they are treating it as an ongoing pattern of behavior rather than a one-time event. I'm not entirely sure what they meant by that, but I think they consider other stuff that has happened and lump it all together. I'm speaking to an officer on Monday. Then, in response to someone saying, you shouldn't eliminate their father from their life, OP quotes the part of the comment that says, I don't think removing your kids from him 100% is good for your kids. And OP replies, we're going to have to politely disagree here. He left them alone in a house and refused to go back even after the police told him he had to, because they weren't his responsibility beyond that time. If that's not evidence that they're safer without him, I don't know what is. He chose this path, not me. OP then quotes the comment again. They don't get to choose who their father is, and responds, you're almost correct, they don't get to choose who their biological father is. The comment says, I'd urge you to hold off on your decision until some time has passed. You want your decision to be well thought out, and not reactionary after all. OP replies, it's been 3 days, assigning my very rightful anger about my severely autistic child and his 60-year-old sister. Being abandoned as reactionary is dismissive. How many times is an appropriate number of genuine child endangerment before taking action is appropriate in your world? This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't something he regrets. He still thinks he did nothing wrong. Also, the fact you're just assuming I'm making a reactionary decision and jumping into no contact on something as serious as the contact my children have with their father is patronizing as for any other behavior in the past, he has 6 hours a week for a reason. I won't be going into our history as it's not required here. Someone asks OP, did your ex mean he was going to try and take the kids or that they'd go to foster care? OP replies, he recently moved into Sophie's place, and I remember hearing something about a cold day in hell before she lets them sleep there overnight. But, for all his many faults, he's self-aware enough to know he can't look after them. He meant taken into foster care. His parents meant into their care. Someone says, block Sophie. OP replies, she's muted. Police said I could block her, but they're looking into her actions as harassment, so ongoing messages are very helpful to that. Someone asks, what did Sophie say in the messages? Opie replies, "About me. She said I was a _parent, accused me of neglect, said my car might have an accident, threatened to fight me, accused me of cheating on my ex with Luke despite him living on a different continent at the time, just unhinged _. I've had stuff from her in the past, but never to this level. I won't go into what she said about my kids." OP has posted an update that happened a week ago. This post was made a few days after it happened. The post I made on social media had kicked up quite the fuss, but most things have been sorted for now. My post is still up, telling people what happened. My brother Pete was friends with my ex-husband before we ever got together. He also never really got involved in our relationship or separation. Ever really been involved in my life beyond being a good uncle. He's a nice guy, but we have never been that close. He's always been closer to my ex, and now to my husband. When he found out what happened, that completely changed, and he put himself right in the middle of it all. My brother was always there, but in his friendship with Dan, I always suspected he was scared of him. Well, not anymore. He called Dan and ordered them to meet at Dan's parents, whom he knows quite well. Dan was advised that bringing Sophie to this meeting wouldn't end well for him. I don't know exactly what was said, but the results of their conversation are that Dan's parents are going to have no contact with him. I don't like them, they've never liked me, but have never doubted that they love my kids and would protect them with their lives. Pete did tell me that Dan made it clear he wouldn't break up with Sophie under any circumstances, even if it meant he wouldn't be able to see his kids. Need to explain what happened? The version of events I posted was true and went through the timeline in proof. Dan argued and bitched and moaned until his dad told him to leave. I think the fact that my brother, who is known for caring about beer, women, and sports, and nothing else, took this so seriously got the grandparents to wake up. I spoke to them, and although their apology was barely worth hearing, we came to an understanding. I'm not going to allow any visits or contact between Dan and Sophie and my children going forward. Our agreement was informal, no court orders or anything. If he wants to see them, he will have to fight for it, which I know he won't. Those 6 hours a week are now going to be with his parents on the condition that, if they allow Dan to be around the kids even once, he'll be cut off from our lives. They were fine with this. Today came, and they picked up the kids and spent the day with them. They called me after 5 hours and asked if they could bring them back an hour later than planned. They were having a lot of fun painting, and the kids wanted to finish what they were doing. No problem, thanks for checking. I cannot stress enough how much I dislike them, but knowing my kids are with people who want to be with them is such a good feeling. Dan didn't even text me asking if he was going to have a scheduled time today. Spoke to a police officer yesterday about the messages sent to me by Sophie. I'm going to gloss over some details for reasons, but they are moving forward with an investigation as a continued pattern of behavior, and it's been escalating. She's made some very specific threats, and over the weekend sent me a message that contained information you would only know if she had followed me to where I was at the time. Luke has set up external cameras on our house, including making sure our cars are covered by cameras at all times. Our neighbors knew what happened last week, so they're going to keep a lookout for her as well. I feel awful that I let this person be around my kids for almost a year and let her be around them, but didn't know her well enough to spot what she was capable of behavior like this. I spoke to Olivia to ask what she thought of Sophie, and she said she was grumpy and not fun, but nothing to indicate she hurt them or anything. This reaction to the whole situation is just unhinged. Luke has been a star through this. He resisted the very strong urge to find Dan and beat him with a golf club. He's not worth replacing a driver, and made sure the kids know he loves spending time with them. Olivia calls him Daddy anyway, but she knew she was abandoned last week, and he's shown her that he's here for her. He's always loved Max and has been amazing with him, but I know he's found it difficult to connect. He asked for advice. I told him to just try things he enjoys and see if Max engages. Well, Max spent 5 hours on Sunday with a golf putter in his hand, hitting a ball to the putting machine thing Luke has in the garage, and he's a natural. Luke now has it outside, as Max became automatic in the garage and needed a bigger green. So now, I'm reevaluating my life. Living with one golf obsessive was barely manageable. 2, maybe more than I can endure. I'm currently typing this, looking at Olivia's painting of a birthday cake, The range threats aside, I'm happy with how things are right now, OPP adds. A little bit more information down in the comments about the investigation and says, the police are actively investigating and taking steps regarding Sophie. They have more than enough information to move forward, just a matter of going through the processes now. I don't know how the system works, but I believe there will be an arrest soon. And no, they aren't charging with child abandonment, but that issue is being looked at along with the underscore with Sophie. I don't know what the plan is from the police. Beyond that, they have all the information. They're just focusing on the immediacy of the threats rather than what happened last week. And someone asked about the police efficiency, and OP said, all they've done when I posted the update was come and see me to take a full statement and a copy of everything that was sent. Not quite sure where the unbelievable efficiency is in my posts, but now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, and your time always mean the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, you're amazing, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love. Thank you. Here are my thoughts. On the story, Dan out here treating parenting like a Groupon 6 hours a week. No overtime while Sophie's auditioning for single white stalker. Some people shouldn't be allowed near kids, a golf club, or oxygen. Shout out to OP's husband for being the only adult in the room, and to Max, future PGA star. Moral of the story, when someone shows you they'd rather lose their kids than break up with their unhinged GF, let them, the trash took itself out. Just don't forget to change the locks.